The wind drove across the plains in long, icy currents that scraped against the earth like claws. Cole Maddox felt the temperature dropping even before the sun reached the ridgeline. Nights fell fast in Broken Mesa Valley faster than any traveler expected, and the cold had a way of reminding a man of his own limits. Still, he wasn't prepared to find anyone out here at this hour, and certainly not someone walking alone. At first, it looked like just a shadow moving against the dying light, wavering as though the wind itself shaped it. But as Cole steered his horse closer, the shape became a personal woman, stumbling more than walking, her body curled inward as if every bone in her frame hurt. She clutched her arms tight across her middle, head lowered, steps uneven. Cole pulled his horse to a slow stop several yards away. The last thing he wanted was to startle her. He saw plenty from a distance, too much, in fact. No coat, no hat, her dress torn at the hem, just covering the fabric like she'd been dragged across the earth. There was something wrong about the way she held herself, like she was trying to disappear inside her own skin. "Ma'am?" he called out carefully, keeping his voice low. She jerked and spun around so quickly she nearly fell. When she lifted her head, he saw fear, raw, unfiltered fear etched into her face. Her lips trembled. Her eyes widened, catching the faint light the way a cornered animal's might. "No, please," she whispered, lifting her hands defensively. "Don't make me undress. Please. I'll keep walking. I'm not causing trouble. Just let me go." The words hit him harder than the wind. He didn't take a step, didn't move his hands, didn't even shift his weight on his boots. Something terrible had happened to her. He didn't need the details to know that much. The way she stood, shaking violently, told its own story. He spoke like a man diffusing dynamite. "Ma'am, I'm not asking you to undress. Not asking you for anything at all. You're freezing out here." She backed up a step, eyes darting around as if she expected others to appear behind him. Her fear wasn't of him alone. She was expecting someone else, someone far worse. I don't need help," she stammered, though her body shivered uncontrollably. "I can walk." "You can," Cole agreed softly, "but you won't make it far tonight." Her jaw clenched, like she was willing to choose death if it meant avoiding whatever she believed he intended. Seeing that expression carved something sharp into Cole's chest. Slowly, so slowly, he slipped his heavy sheepskin coat off his shoulders. He didn't step closer with it. Instead, he crouched down and placed the coat on a rock between them. Then he stood up again, taking his steps back to put more distance between himself and the coat. The woman stared at it like it was bait in a trap. "You take it if you want it," Cole said. "I won't come closer. Not unless you tell me to." The wind cut across her again, and she leaned sideways as if bracing against its force. She was a slip of a thing far too thin for the cold, far too exhausted to keep her balance. Her skin was pale beneath the dirt smudges. Her lips had started to turn blue. I don't understand," she whispered. "Why are you helping me?" Cole lifted his chin just enough to meet her eyes without towering over her. The last thing he wanted was to look like one more threat. "Because you need help," he said simply. "And I'm not about to lead you out here to freeze when I can do something about it." Her gaze flicked to his horse, then back to him, as if weighing whether he was lying. For a moment she didn't move at all. Then her knees buckled. Cole instinctively reached a hand forward, then froze when she flinched violently, one arm snapping out as if to shield herself. "Easy," he murmured, dropping his hand to his side. "I'm staying right here." She swayed, breath coming fast and shallow. The coat sat on the rock like an island of warmth in a frozen world. After a trembling hesitation, she lurched toward it. Her fingers brushed the thick fur lining, and the moment she felt the heat trapped inside, her entire body sagged. She pulled it around herself, burying her face in the collar, letting the warmth spill into her bones. Cole exhaled quietly, relieved, but she still watched him over the thick collar, suspicion flickering behind her exhaustion. "You're not expecting anything?" "No," he answered. "Not a thing." She blinked, the disbelief almost painful to see. Cole stepped back further and moved toward his horse. She stiffened for a moment until she realized he wasn't approaching her. Instead, he unstrapped the bedroll from behind the saddle, slung the thick wool blanket free, then reached for the canteen tied to the saddle's horn. He carried everything to the same rock and laid it there beside the coat's empty spot. When he pulled off the spare shirt he kept packed for long rides, her breath caught in her throat. He set that down a dot, then he walked back, not toward her, but toward a large boulder about 10 feet away. He sat down with his back against it, arms resting on his knees, posture relaxed and unthreatening. "You can wrap up in the blanket," he said. "Drink the water. Put the shirt on under the coat if you want. You're safe." She stared at him, silent for a long stretch of wind. The sky dimmed from amber to a cold lavender as night began swallowing the horizon. The shadows grew deeper around them. She tugged the coat tighter around herself and looked at the pile he'd set down. Giving me everything you have? She asked in a hoarse whisper. Not everything, Cole said. Still got my saddle. A faint, dry smile pulled at his mouth. Her eyes softened. The first warmth he'd seen in them. She moved cautiously toward the rock. Like every motion had to be calculated. She bent down, picked up the blanket, and wrapped it around her shoulders under the coat. Then she grabbed the canteen, unscrewed the cap with shaking fingers, and drank. The water wasn't warm, but it wasn't freezing either, and her body seemed to sigh with relief. Cole watched her only long enough to make sure she didn't faint. When she caught him looking, he shifted his eyes toward the rocky horizon instead. The message was clear. She had privacy. She had control. The woman's throat tightened. She wasn't sure how to speak without breaking. You're not going to ask what happened, she finally murmured. Not until you want to tell me. Her breath hitched like she might cry. But no tears came. She was too dehydrated for that. She clutched the blanket as if it were a lifeline. The wind rose again, pushing more cold across the desert floor. Cole leaned his head back against the boulder, eyes half closed. Body held still so she wouldn't think he planned to move toward her. After a minute, she whispered, "Thank you." Cole tipped his hat slightly in her direction. "You're welcome." The silence that settled between them wasn't sharp anymore. It was heavy. Yes, but not dangerous. Not filled with fear. She took a cautious step closer to his horse, letting its warmth radiate into her. The animal snorted gently, lowering its head as if sensing her exhaustion. She stroked its muzzle without realizing she'd moved. Cole didn't comment. He didn't need to dodge. She was warming up. She was still alive. And for the first time that night, she wasn't alone. When she finally sat down in the dirt beside the horse, leaning against its flank with the blanket cocooned around her, Cole watched from his seat by the boulder. Her eyes stayed open for a while, watching him through the strands of hair falling across her face. He saw understanding dawn in those tired eyes, a slow, dawning realization that he meant her no harm. And when she at last allowed her eyes to close, trusting sleep to take her even with a stranger nearby, Cole stayed awake, keeping watch over her, over the valley, over the long stretch of darkness settling in. He didn't touch her. He didn't question her. He simply sat there, silent and steady as the night wind. And she slept, shocked not by fear, but by safety.